business owners who redefine success, who invest in people, who give back to their community, are not simply business owners. They are SD Metro business rock stars.
Welcome back to another episode of San Diego Metro Business Rockstars. My name is Florentino Buenaventura. I'm the host of the show, and we always appreciate you all tuning in to hear the latest and greatest on San Diego's top businesses. And we have one of those top businesses here today with FieldLogix and the CEO of the company, Yukon Palmer. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
So, Yukon, we appreciate you following us with SD Metro, and we appreciate you basically with our outreach to find some of the cool companies here in town, responding to that. With that said, what we like to do is we really like to kind of find out how this got started. You're an entrepreneur, and your business is field management with GPS services and other different endeavors to make sure that if you're trucking or if you're sales or whatever, you're able to keep in touch and stay on track of what your teams are doing out there in the field. So with that said, how did you get started in this, man? What drove you to start a business? Yeah. This is a very technical and very sophisticated industry for you.
Right. Yeah. So I actually started the company 20 years ago while I was in the MBA program at San Diego State.
Okay.
So I actually worked for a company in the industry and sales for a couple of years and kind of figured out, why people buy it and what they're looking for, and decided to just start the company based on a business plan I wrote in that MBA program.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. So you started it while you were there. Did you finish before the program, or did you actually start the company right when you were still going to school?
So I started the company during my last semester. I quit my job, so I quit my full-time job, and just did this and finished up my last semester of school.
What did your friends and family think when you quit your job and you still have school to finish? Right?
Yeah, I still had school. I mean, I'm sure some people probably thought I was a little nuts, but they were very supportive. Everybody was very supportive, especially
awesome.
My wife. I had just gotten married. I got married about a year before I started the company.
Wow, that's crazy.
Just bought a new condo and everything. So, there were a lot of responsibilities and obligations, but my wife was extremely supportive, and that's what allowed me to do it.
So the industry was infant stage at that particular point.
Right.
What in field management, what was like, oh, I got to do this? Because it was very, there was a time I worked for Microsoft and we were kind of dabbling in that area as well. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. What made you pick that world?
Yeah. So when I was in the MBA program, I wrote a business plan. So I was in Professor Alex Noble's class, and in his class, we were we were set up as teams, and we had to create a business plan based on something we were interested in. Yeah. So since I was already in the industry, I had interest, and there was someone else in the industry that was in the class. So we paired up, and during our research, we found that a lot of analysts projected that this industry would just totally take off over the next 10 years.
Wow.
And a lot of that was because a lot of processes were manual. A lot of things were just very manual back then. So they these analysts figured with automation and digitization, everything would just really take off. So I got really fired up after that and decided to pursue it.
That's very, very cool. Remember, folks, do your due diligence. Find out if the industry you're going into is going to make an impact and that you got growth. So that's my learning lesson from you on that one.
Right. Yeah.
There wasn't any GPS at that time, really. I mean, there was, but it was mostly military. 20 years ago, it barely, maybe tell me about that, because I know that from a consumer side, it really didn't reach, critical mass until like the mid 2000s,
right?
4 or 5, when people started recognizing, they started buying their Garmin's and phones. Like Microsoft had a phone that had a GPS solution on it with a little puck, and didn't work very well. But were you already starting it off in GPS, or what was
Yeah. So the company I worked for, funny thing was, it was their technology was pre-GPS. So they were in the same industry.
Yeah.
and they were using cell towers to triangulate position. So it was almost like the old paging network.
Yeah.
So they would just triangulate device's position based on its distance from different cell towers. It wasn't very accurate, especially if you're driving up the coast because there's no cell tower in the ocean. But then GPS really started taking off, like you said, like mid 2000s. So I was right when I started the company. It was right when when the GPS technology itself was actually starting to take off.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And from a service side, we know GPS is a big part of field management. What other things that you incorporated into your services product offerings beyond the GPS tracking?
Yeah, so we offer route optimization and dispatching.
Okay.
So we actually built this product over the past few years where companies can plan, say, their delivery routes in our system, optimize it to make it the shortest distance between locations, and then dispatch it out to the driver's smartphones.
Okay.
And then the drivers, when they're en route, they can send ETAs to their clients. So if someone's sitting at home waiting for a delivery person, they know that person's en route and they're ready for them when they arrive. So we have that. We're incorporating workflow management so they can close out their calls when they're done by submitting certain types of documentation.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. We also recently launched dash cameras. So dash cameras that are wireless. So essentially it monitors in real time what's taking place in the cab of the vehicle. It'll flag, if the driver's in a collision, it'll flag those events and push those up to the cloud. And also it monitors drivers distracted driving. So it can monitor if the driver's smoking, using their cell phone, if they're eating, it'll notify the driver and then send that video up to the cloud for the fleet manager to review as well.
No Taco Bell, folks, while you're driving your trucks.
Right.
So, no, I mean, it makes total sense. So yeah, that's crazy that it's become so much. What do you see as what's the future? What are some of the technology that's going to be coming about?
AI is going to play a big role in this industry. We've already incorporated AI into part of our solution. What we do is we actually built an algorithm that monitors the likelihood that a driver will be involved in a crash. We looked at all the crashes that ever occurred in our system. We looked at driving behavior leading up to the crash. We looked at weather conditions leading up to the crash. And now every night we compare all the vehicles in our system against that model to predict the likelihood that a driver is going to be in an accident over the next 72 hours. Wow. So that's our first kind of step into AI, but we'll be incorporating AI into multiple aspects of our technology over the next few years.
Wow. And is there any industries that you're really focusing in on or verticals that really are likely to use your services?
Yeah, so most of our customers are in commercial residential services.
Okay.
So this could be air conditioning contractors, plumbers, fire and security companies.
Yeah.
I would say that's the majority. And then we have a number in government and some other industries as well.
Wow. Let's kind of go back a minute then. Let's kind of talk about what were you doing to build the company? Because obviously you didn't start off with, big companies that are needing field management services. Right. How did you build the company? This is especially for the new entrepreneurs that are trying to figure out how do I build my company, and more importantly, how do I get clients?
Yeah, so in the early days, it was extremely manual. So a lot of cold calling, a lot of meeting with people face to face. Just really going out and working with small businesses and meeting with them in person and just trying to convince them that this technology would help them. So I picked up, my first few customers going that route. And then over time, things got a little more sophisticated. We started incorporating marketing, some of the marketing techniques and, other things, partnerships, things like that helped us scale the company.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I would imagine you got a lot of sideways look. What is this GPS thing you're telling me about? What are you talking about? The government's going to track me?
Yeah. In the early days, that was that was pretty tough.
Yeah, that is. So how is that different today now? Now that we're in 2022, I don't know, we might be still in a pandemic. Who knows? People, right. I hear theories differently, on back and forth. But with that said, how do you build to the success that you're at? And if you don't mind me asking, how many clients do you have right now?
So we have, I'd say roughly around 300 to 400 or 300 to 350, somewhere in that range. And they're primarily in the U.S. We do have a few overseas, so we have
Okay.
some in Australia and Canada.
Okay. Shout out to our overseas folks that are watching
Yeah,
the
the
show.
Aussies. Yeah.
So, that's amazing,
Mhm.
and it was a simple school business plan.
Right.
Wow, that's what makes you a SD Metro business rock star, man. That leadership. So, one of the big things for us is community, and you're located here. You've got obviously clients all over the globe.
Mhm.
From a San Diego standpoint, um, do you interact a lot with the community and functions? And tell us a bit about what your passions are here in San Diego for the all the people here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm always involved with San Diego State. San Diego State has a very good entrepreneurial management program.
Mhm.
It's called the Lavin program. So I've served as a mentor there for years. I participated in their business plan competitions as a judge for several years. I'm involved, or I've been involved with Connect in the past. So
Okay.
I actually led a committee with Connect.
Oh, great.
Evo Nexus is another local organization
Yeah, I've
I've been
heard of it.
involved in, and I was involved in a couple committees with that group as well. And then also we do a lot of, just work giving back in the community. So we participated in Habitat for Humanity,
Wow.
Feeding San Diego. So a number of other, nonprofits that we volunteer for. We always try to make sure we carve out some time throughout the year to volunteer for different organizations.
Very, very cool. And I think that's important because that's, when you've been blessed with a successful business, it's nice to be able to return that back. And that's a big part of what it is for us as we look for leaders.
Mhm.
Do you feel like it seems like your industry is growing. Do you know, is it growing in leaps and bounds, or has it kind of, just kind of slowly growing?
It's been growing quite a bit. It's been growing quite a bit. I mean, there's certain technologies within the industry that
Yeah.
are growing more than others.
Yeah.
We're no longer, when we started, we were this GPS tracking company, and it was like a one-dimensional product that just monitored vehicles.
Yeah.
But over time, we had to evolve from that,
Yeah.
and the industry as a whole has evolved from that. Customers' expectations have evolved.
Yeah.
So, we've built out a well-rounded. It's really a platform now.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain segments that are really growing and certain segments that have kind of plateaued.
Yeah. So for those people that are looking for field services, can you give us your URL and how they can get in touch with you about your organization?
Sure. Yeah. So it's FieldLogix.com. So FieldLogix.com. And then anyone that comes to our site, we actually welcome them to view a video tour. So they can actually go through a tour of our solution and learn about all of its capabilities and how it can benefit them.
You guys do also like online screen share stuff?
Yeah. We'll do live demos. So we'll do
demos.
live walkthroughs and all those things. So we do have the consultative option as well. And we always ask, visitors if they want that as well.
Yeah. Is there a certain what was I going to ask here? So, the verticals that you've been reaching, is there a certain level that they need to be at for them to be able to use the services? Is it like you said, is it mom and pop shops that can use it, or is it like a mid-level?
Yeah, we support all size fleets. Our smaller fleets are typically about 4 vehicles.
Okay.
But we support fleets with hundreds of vehicles, thousands of vehicles. So we have a couple that have 1,000 plus vehicles.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, last question. It's very simple. What do you want people to leave with that maybe they haven't heard in this episode about your company? What do you want them to leave with after they've viewed this episode?
Yeah. So, when I started in this industry, I always thought that there was an opportunity to provide something that is very unique and compelling to companies to help them really get more done, get more work done, accomplish their goals. So at the end of the day, what it came down to was 2 things: innovation. So ensuring that we're constantly on the leading edge of innovation, and 2, backing that with superior customer support. So being the best that we can possibly be when it comes to resolving any issues that come up with our customers, also being proactive to ensure that they're satisfied with our service. So those are the 2 things that we want everyone to take away with. we're innovative, and we focus very, very strongly on customer support.
Well, awesome. Well, folks, there you have it. Stay in school, but build that business plan that might lead you to a successful company like FieldLogix. We have Yukon Palmer, CEO of the company, a great business rock star here for San Diego, and now a friend of the show. So
Awesome.
thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.